Tony Alumélu is an economist, investor, and a philanthropist. Mr. Alumélu chairs privately held investment firm Hares Holdings and Nigeria's largest quarter conglomerate, Transcorp. Mr. Alumélu invests across Africa, primarily in the oil and gas, financial services, hospitality, and power sectors. His investments are informed by his philosophy of Afro-capitalism, the belief that the private sector can lead Africa's economic renaissance and that investment should create both economic prosperity and social wealth. Mr. Alumélu sits on a number of public and social sector boards, including the United Nations Sustainable Energy for All Initiative and USAID's Private Capital Group for Africa Partners Forum. He is also the chairman of Pan-African Financial Services Group, United Bank for Africa, and the founder of the Tony Alumélu Foundation, which has seeded 100 million through the Tony Alumélu Entrepreneurship Program to champion entrepreneurship across Africa over the next 10 years. With that, I would like to leave the stage for you and to looking forward to hearing your talk.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here with you for a variety of reasons. The most important reason is this is the future of the world, and I also see the future of African leaders here. It's about entrepreneurship. You know, Africa, we've heard a lot about Africa rising, the demographic dividend of Africa, and everything. And I say to people I talk with, today's demographic dividend in Africa can become a demographic doom if we don't do something about it. If Africa must create 10 million jobs every year between now and 2030, if we must deal and convert our demographic dividend quote or boom, or dividend to a demographic boom. If we don't do that, we'll be creating problems for the entire continent, for the world at large. And so it becomes and behoves on every one of us to deal with the issue of job creation, the issue of developing Africa. You cannot talk of an all-inclusive development or growth of Africa without dealing with the issue of job, which will keep our youth fully engaged. What you saw about the Tony Alumélu Entrepreneurship Program is our own little way of addressing this issue of job or unemployment situation in Africa. It's our own little way of helping to drive the development of Africa from within. So in a way, it is Africa's solution to Africa's challenges. We realize that, and you all know this better than I do, that governments don't create jobs. They don't have the capacity, even though the intent and the willingness is there. But they can never create enough jobs for our people. Globally, SMEs create jobs. They drive, they're the engine of growth for economies. And that is what it is everywhere, and that's what has to help us in Africa. And so for every entrepreneur on the continent that will assist with the support to create jobs for himself first, and also create jobs for a few other people, then we are playing our own role in helping to address the issue of sustainable and genuine development of Africa from within. As you all live here and return, hopefully, to Africa, you should, see how you play your own role, either by getting employed or by actually becoming entrepreneurs too, or by supporting entrepreneurs like others have been doing, like Osno Kerry and others do on the continent. The second point I want to talk about is the philosophy again talked about here of Afro-capitalism. So if we backtrack or go back in history, there was a time some of us, young as we were, in fact, Chika more than I were in the car now, we're not talking about half time has passed. I know how you don't know you're getting old until you see things, you say, wow, we're actually getting old. And so in 1997, some of us came together and acquired a distressed financial institution. We acquired the distressed financial institution, we turned it around, we set targets for ourselves, strategic plans, targets, if you have first year strategic intent, we want to make it a viable financial services company. Second tier intent, we want to become a leading financial services group on the continent. And third financial intent is a strategic intent to become a player in the global financial arena. And so we went about all of this. Tier 1, we accomplished tier 1 largely within 10 years. And tier 2 of becoming a significant player on the African continent, we actually drove this so that today we have presence in 19 African countries, United Arab of Africa. We serve over 8 to now about 10 million customers on the continent. We have about 1,000 branches across Africa. And so then the third tier intent of, again, having presence on the global scene, I would say we have presence in Paris, in London, and we today are the only bank that operates in that, only African bank, all of Africa, that operates in US or regulated by the OCC in US. We operate in New York here, Rockefeller, 57 Rockefeller Plaza. But all of this brought certain things to the fore, to our attention. That what started a little investment in 1997 today has done a lot. Okay, it's created wealth for us and for people who have been involved in this. It's created significant wealth for our shareholders. We have over 300,000 shareholders, public company, in this business alone. We also have over 20,000 staff across Africa working in both Anglophone Africa and Francophone Africa. And so, to all the lesson is, how did we get here? We got here through, so we started interrogating how we got there. Yes, leadership, intelligence, and that. But there was an overriding drive, and that is the need to invest long term. Invest long term in key sector, in this case, financial sector, which is very strategic for the continent, because we tried to democratize banking, we try to create access to banking facilities, we try to facilitate payment, we supported SMEs. So we realized that this investment that was driven by long-term vision actually has been able to create a lot, not just for us, but also for the community where we've done business, for individuals in the ecosystem, and that led to the philosophy of Africa capitalism. And just summarizing or just defining the concile is, first a realization that the private sector in Africa has a role to play in the development of Africa, which again speaks to what you're doing, the theme of your session. And two, that the private sector in Africa must invest in key sectors of the African economy that have the ability to create both economic prosperity and social wealth. So you take any business, just you think long-term in terms of investment, key sectors, power, infrastructure, energy, areas that can create economic returns for the shareholders as well as create social wealth. So to me, I see this as an African solution to Africa's challenge. That the tenets of African capitalism, if we go with them, if we have them drive what we do by way of investments, to a large extent will help us also achieve the purpose of sustainable development for the continent. We believe that first, no one but us develop the continent. We believe too that you need to invest in long-term key sectors. For a long time, Africa has been, an extractive site. We just have commodities, raw materials, and we ship this and we pour them back in finished form. And that value creation phase where you process and create value locally is lost. And so the growth in Africa is not expressed in growth in Africa. So the growth in Africa is expressed only in GDP terms that at times is not inclusive and people don't feel it. So we believe that African capitalism plus entrepreneurship, developing and supporting entrepreneurs on the continent and the entire ecosystem, from advocacy to access to finance to training to creating networking platform for people to mentoring, will help to develop Africa in a sustainable fashion.